Footage of a terrifying headless toad found in a forest in Connecticut has left scientists baffled. The adult toad has a healthy-looking body and legs, but instead of a face, it has a stump covered in smooth tissue. It lacks eyes, a nose, jaws and a tongue, and only has a small hole where its mouth should be. Scientists recently took to Twitter to discuss the strange creature, and they have no idea what caused it to lose its face. Theories range from its face being eaten by rats to it being a victim of flesh-eating toad fly larvae. The toad was discovered by Jill Fleming, a graduate student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She recently tweeted a photo of the faceless toad and invited scientists to put forward their theories as to why it had a stump instead of a head. Kept hopping into things, she tweeted, had a small mouth hole, maybe esophagus, glottis, no maxilla or mandible. I think it was early spring, so I think it must have come out of brumation like this. Any thoughts? Her Twitter. The headless animal confounded both the experts and members of the general public. Footage of the toad shows it walking around the forest floor. Fleming told Live Science she doesn't think its facelessness is the result of genetic mutation. The toad didn't have a mouth to feed and yet had a healthy body, which suggests it lost its face recently. Twitter user suggests it may have been was injured and then healed while it was hibernating, perhaps by a predator. Flesh-eating toad fly larvae could have eaten its face, Lydia Franklino suggested in a tweet. Toad flies are parasitic flies which lay their larvae in the soft tissue of toads. When the larvae hatch, they devour the flesh of the host animal. Ms. Franklinos told Live Science, you will see extensive damage to the toad's face 48 to 72 hours after the eggs have hatched. Although it is rare, it is not unheard of for animals to survive with parts of their brain missing. Mike the chicken lived in 1945 on a Colorado farm and was beheaded to be sold for meat. Unlike the rest of his chickens, the farmer noted that the animal was still alive and running around, despite missing its head, as well as giving birth to the saying running around like a headless chicken. The unfortunate event also proved that a lot of essential functions for survival are conducted in the brainstem. The brainstem is the core of neurological functions and is responsible for such activities as breathing and movement. This can allow the animals to survive despite missing most of its brain. A similar trend has been seen before in humans. Although our brains are comparatively much larger, certain areas can be removed without fatal consequences. The famous case of railroad worker Phineas Cage speaks of a man in 19th century America who has an unfortunate accident where he had an iron pole through his skull. The iron rod was 114 inches, 3.2 centimeters in diameter, 3 feet 7 inches, 1.1 meters long, and weighed 14 pounds, 6.0 kilograms. It went through his skull and he survived for 12 years after the event, although he experienced significant difficulties afterwards with reported personality changes. He lived without a sizable portion of his brain. Twitter user David Sizdick believes rats could be the culprit. This is not the first time an animal has been known to survive after losing the majority of its functional brain. A chicken in Colorado in 1945 was beheaded by a farmer for meat. Even without its head, the animal continued to run around. It survived for 18 months afterwards with only a brain stem. The brain stem can be heavily involved in movement and other activities involved with the central nervous system, such as breathing and essential bodily functions. The chicken from over 70 years ago was kept alive with liquid food, and the farmer kept its airways clear with a siphon.
Tell me where the freak's at.